Hello and welcome back to the Talking Wolves podcast. My name is Matthew Cooper and today I'm joined by three wonderful guests. We'll start with the main man himself, Dave, as a party. Dave, how you keeping, mate?
Very well, thank you, Matt. Good to have you back after your little break last week. But yeah, good to see you.
Yeah, I was feeling a little bit under the weather. I felt a little bit better towards the evening, but I'd been off work, so I couldn't be taking the piss. So I am back. I know people at work watch too. So yeah, I didn't really fancy discipline the next day. Finn, how you keeping, mate? Good to see you at the weekend again.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, shame it wasn't in better circumstances, but all good. Yeah, fully recovered from that one now, I think. So all good.
Yeah. And Jord, how you doing, son? We weren't at the game on Saturday, were you? But no mountains. It's going to be every single week.
Yeah.
That's a third dig already, Jord.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, tell me about it. Well, the thing is, you think you got mates and stuff, and Finn aired me, and then Matt aired me as well. So I've had loads.
I didn't air you. You did. What do you mean I aired you? I rang you on Friday and offered you. I went, mate, I've got a ticket here and a lift. He'll pick you up.
Hey, no. You double booked my ticket to start off with. Invited you. I know you and you're better mate than me, so that's fine.
Mate, the thing is, right, I had the ticket and I thought, I better ask Ewan first. So, and Ewan being Ewan, he wouldn't have come. He was like, no, I'm too busy. He doesn't go to the home game, so he wasn't going to go to the away games. And I thought, I'll say to Jord, if he doesn't want to come, he can have the ticket. But unfortunately, Ewan said yes, and it left me in a very difficult position. But if you'd abide your time, Jord, I got you a ticket and a lift for free, and he didn't want to know.
Well, I've always made plans, and I'm more scared of my missus than I am you, mate. So,
if you take that cap off, you go ball in the back of your head where you've been under the thumb. Or...
You'll sit there, mate. Don't you worry about me.
Oh, we've got a jam-packed podcast to get through today. We're going to be looking at the Spurs versus Wolves game, then previewing Wolves v Preston. Wolves v Newcastle. We'll talk a little bit about Pedro Neto, and then we'll take some of your questions. But Dave, let's start with Spurs at the weekend. It's a bit of a dream start, really, wasn't it? In the first half, we'd been dominated, but really lacked that cutting edge once again.
Yeah, it's been the same story for the opening three games. Obviously, it was a great surprise to see Nunez start. I didn't think it would happen, but obviously when the Morgan Gibbs-White deal went through so quickly, I thought there's obviously a space in the team now. And I think it's what a lineup that a lot of people did predict sort of going into, Friday evening into Saturday. And it was great to see him start and play for so long. And I thought he definitely added that quality that we needed. He got into the area a couple of times and had these chances. But yeah, it's been the same story. And I said it on the review. I don't think it would have been guaranteed, but I think if Raul was fit or you had another striker play in the first three games, I think we could have been on between 7 to 9 points. I think we would have beaten Fulham. We would have got a better result against Leeds, and we probably would have beaten Spurs over the weekend. But especially against those teams that are going to be in the top 4, the top 6, you can't waste too many opportunities because, like we saw on Saturday, Harry Kane, players of that caliber, they need one chance and they'll put it in the back of the net. And it was unfortunate for, obviously, Nathan Collins, who had such a good game. Someone was trying to shift the blame and blame Aït-Nouri for it because he didn't win the near post header. But you can't leave your man there, especially someone like Harry Kane. So disappointing. A lot of positives to take out of the game, but just a little bit frustrating that we came away with nothing.
I think with stuff like that, though, people want to blame somebody. They want a scapegoat from the game, and I thought after the mistake, you could tell Collins was disappointed with himself, and I think it should be. I know it happened quick, but you've got one job there. You got one of the most prolific strikers in the Premier League's ever seen, and you've lost him. But Finn, you come away from White Hart Lane or the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, as it's now dubbed, feeling disappointed that you've not come away with something. Is that a positive to take out of the performance?
Yeah, but then again, I've never not left there without 3 points. Even at Wembley, I think since we've been in the Premier League, we've had a really good record there. So it's felt weird sort of walking out disappointed. But no, yeah, it is a good sign. It feels very similar to last season, albeit probably tougher opposition, those first three. You could see there were positive signs there, just not getting the results. And we can't say that for too much longer because, yeah, once you get 4 or 5 games with only the 1 point, it's going to get shaky. But yeah, it was weird. I thought we played really well. And then, but I suppose speaking to you after the game, I thought we played really well. But I think I was more looking at that first half. The second half was poor. Like we were talking about Collins, I thought he was superb first half. But then I didn't really, second half, everyone sort of dropped off a cliff. And there was, I don't know what you put that down to, tiredness, whether they figured us out and Conte's tweaked stuff at half time. But yeah, pretty underwhelming towards the end, but a lot of positive signs. We just need to start turning those into points. Well, goals to begin with, then we'll look at points.
Yeah. Jordan, as the lads have just said there, first half was really positive, but I don't know if you felt like me, but I knew at half time we were going to look back and rue those chances because you know that Spurs weren't going to come out and play the exact same way, especially under a manager like Conte.
No, they made tweaks, and granted, the second half was a bit of a different game. I thought first half we controlled large parts of it. I thought we were brilliant. Like I said on the Fan React, like it's one of the best away performances first half that you can ask for in the Premier League. You keep them quiet, nullify them. We had our own opportunities and chances, which again we didn't take. But we had 20 shots through in that game versus Spurs 11. But I can't remember Lloris ever even having to make a save of any note, and it's frustrating. There's all the signs there that I think we are a very good team. We are just lacking that striker. Hopefully, we're about to get one through the door, which would be good to see. Obviously, Raul's back from his injury as well, so that hopefully he'll be back in the team as well. But it'll add a new dimension to the team, and we're just very blunt, aren't we, as a team at the moment? There's a lot of good things that happen, but it gets to that final third, and yeah, it's very poor. If I'm honest with you.
We do get into some half decent positions, and everyone's saying, "Oh, if we had a striker, it'd be different." But I'm not convinced that's the be all and end all, Dave. I look at that front three, whoever plays, and they almost look a little bit bereft of look a little bit shot shy. That final action is almost like it's either rushed or the wrong decision. Do you think it's going to be once that first goal goes in and it becomes a win? Do you think similar to the Watford game, you'll see the pressure lift off the players?
Yeah, and I saw, we saw last season where first 3 games of the season we played really, really well. Didn't come out with a single goal or a win. And then we had that cup game against Forest where we won 4-0. And then that, after that, I know the results, the fixtures after that game were a little bit more favourable, but it really helped us kickstart a nice run in the Premier League. I'm hoping that obviously tomorrow's game, which we'll talk about against Preston, could be do the same thing. I know defensively they are quite good in the Championship, but I'm hoping that we can knock a few goals past them and then, try and get our confidence up. Like Jord said, yes, we had 20 shots, but not many did, worry Lloris. And I think throughout the whole game, despite us having 20 shots, our XG was still lower than 1 the whole game, which is, when you've had that many attempts on goal, is poor, really. I think there were moments where Guedes, showed a lot of confidence running through a goal and maybe took a strike a little bit too early. But I think his confidence will come with time. I think there is just some sort of actions sometimes in front of goal where a striker just has the instinct to know when to shoot and how to, place the shot. Whereas the players that we've got at the moment aren't proper number 9s. Neto is getting at times, and we've seen it the first 2 games, getting in the right areas, but just doesn't know what to do at the end of the chances. Pedence always seems to fluff his lines at the last moment as well. So I think a new striker or Jimenez coming back into full fitness, fingers crossed, we just see a little bit more of a threat in front of goal.
I was impressed with Guedes and Nunes. To be fair, I felt like they faded, especially in the second half, as Spurs made it more difficult for us.
It's almost as if, though, Matt, as well, we were so energetic in the first half. It's as if we'd used almost all of our energy up in the first half and just looked shattered in the second half because we completely took our foot off the gas. And that, Spurs didn't actually have to do a lot in the end to beat us. But we made them look so poor in the first half. It was just disappointing we couldn't carry that into the second. But you knew Conte would get a reaction out of them regardless.
I mean, so I'd made them look poor, but I just thought we were the better side, and we made them relinquish possession, and it's a shame we couldn't make them pay for it. Jordan Martinho came off a little bit into the second half. He's returned from injury. It all seemed to fall apart when he went off. Do you think that's a coincidence, or that's the reason why?
I think we had that much control in that first half, like you say. He's a ball player. He controls the tempo, dictates the pace of the game. Everyone sort of plays at his pace, and him. I mean, Moutinho, Neves, and Nunes as a midfield 3. You could put that up against any midfield in Europe, I think, in club football, and go they can compete with anyone. And I thought we made Højbjerg and Bentancur look really, really ordinary in that first half. I think that when he came off the pitch, And I'm not, then Donker's a completely different sort of player to Moutinho, and the game might have been slipping away from us at that point anyway. But it did feel like we sort of lost control, even more control of that game when Moutinho went off. But naturally, he's missed, the first 2 games and probably a chunk of pre-season as well. So yeah, it's frustrating. I think, like you say, there's so many positive signs on there, and it's frustrating to see some of the reactions post-match on social media about panicking, and I just think it's all really unwarranted, and I don't see it for me at all. I've got a lot of confidence in this team still.
Yeah, I know. I've been speaking to a few people who aren't Wolves fans, and I've had it before the season. You're going to struggle. You're going to struggle. You've been in a relegation battle. They say that we've barely picked any points up in the first 3, and it's the same. But it's, if you look at the performances, and I know, we've got to start turning those performances into wins, but we're absolutely fine. I think it's very, very lazy when people just look at the results and think, oh God, these are in trouble. But Finn, in that second half, once Spurs took the lead, Wolves found it very difficult to break Spurs down. It was playing a cross in front of them, and they were just shifting across and doing a job on us. Found it very hard to penetrate. Do you think that Wolves may struggle to break down a 5 at the back this season? More teams are playing a 5 at the back than last season, based on the first 3 games. Over 40% of the teams have lined up with a back 5. Of course, they, some are more attacking than others. Some are a 3, some are a 5. But can you see that being a problem?
I think, the XG stat shows that, doesn't it? That 20 shots, but the positions we must have been taking them from, that back 5 has worked really well to keep us outside their box. They're basically all outside the box, weren't they? And if they're in the box, they were not really threatening positions at all. So they've definitely got to work on that. I agree. And as you say, if more teams are going to do that, it's a taste of our own medicine, isn't it? That for like 4 years we've been frustrating people. And now it's right. You lot have a go at it. So in a way, it's going to be interesting, and we probably deserve it. But no, it will be interesting. There's also, it just felt so slow when we did get into those positions. When you saw sort of Perisic and Son combining, they were drilled in it, and they did it so much quicker. I think with what we're going to play, like regardless of what other people are playing, if we could just pick that up, the relationships are going to build. I'm not too worried, but yeah, it's an interesting one. And I'm trying to think of the next team that play a 5. Newcastle don't really, so at least we won't come up with one for a while. But I think once in a few weeks, I've got confidence that we could break down any team really.
Yeah, it's going to take time to gel, isn't it? And compared to last season, I think it was about a third of teams. So, like I said, more teams are playing it. Dave, 5 substitutions were made, which is positive in itself. You compare it, stark contrast to the Leeds game where Bruno didn't have options. The likes of Juan came on, Jimenez, Adama. What were your thoughts on the subs and their impact on the game? I come out of the stadium, and during the match, Adama was getting loads and loads of stick. Even Juan, when I come out of the ground, which I didn't really understand, I thought he did okay. What were your thoughts on their impact?
Well, firstly, the quality of the substitutions is a hell of a lot better. And I think the overall match day squad is probably one of, if not our strongest ever in the Premier League overall. I think it was really, really solid. And yeah, the issue with Adama is, I think for us as fans, we still don't know what's going on. Hasn't really been linked with many clubs this summer. Still out of contract at the end of the season. I understand, why Bruno Lage is using him still in a match day squad, because I think he is a good weapon to bring on late on. But when Spurs already had the lead, playing 5 at the back, they're going to sit deep. They're almost going to make him ineffective. They were doubling, tripling up on him. So he really had a torrid time, but he wasn't getting the crosses in quick enough either for me. Huang, I thought, did okay when he came on. But the fact that we are able to bring that quality on, like I thought Jimenez did really well when he came on as well. But I think, Jord mentioned Dendoncker earlier. I think you need a scapegoat. Whenever you lose a game, you need a scapegoat. And I think it was just a coincidence that Moutinho came off, Dendoncker came on, and we didn't look as good. There were so many areas like, why isn't Neto? Why isn't Guedes? Why isn't Pedence being the scapegoat? Because we're not scoring goals. Why are we blaming players further back on the pitch? So, and it's one of them. I think Dendoncker's done really well in the first 2 games. I think he was unfortunate to become the scapegoat for this game.
Yeah, I mean, in the stadium, some of the stick that Adama was getting was quite unsavoury, if I'm honest. I thought that, being honest, I don't think he looked particularly interested. I think bringing him on as a right wing back probably halted him from getting forward as much. And when he did, someone was coming across and Sessegnon was 5 yards deep, because that's a space he wants to run into. And they did a job on him. There was a couple of occasions there where Jimenez won a flick on, and if it had just gambled, it'd have probably been in. Jord, does he look like a player to you who looks disinterested? Does he look like a player who doesn't want to get nobbled because there might be a move elsewhere, or do you just think that's a drama?
I think probably the first point, if I'm honest with you, I think that he doesn't look interested or hasn't looked interested. We spoke about, I don't know if that was actually on air or off air a few weeks ago when he had that holiday break.
It was on air, yeah.
On air, yeah. And you're thinking it's a bit of a weird time to have a break when you're trying to get yourself back to match fitness. For me, though, it's one of those things like he's got to knuckle down, because whether he likes it or not, he's probably going to be at Wolves for the next 12 months because no one's talking about him. I don't think anyone's going to take a punt on him. I'd be shocked if we get any money for him by the end of the window. Maybe Everton, but again, like, he's probably everything they don't need, and that maybe he might be a last gasp transfer if they lose Anthony Gordon late on. But for me, it's two. You know, you either want to be either put up and start playing and want to be here, or just don't. Or Bruno should just stop picking him in match day squads. And then maybe I'm being a bit harsh on him because I love him for his imperfections and stuff, but I've never really ever doubted his attitude or application. Sometimes his ability, yeah, but never those two. And what I've seen in the last 2 games, I really don't think he looks arsed. So it's disappointing to me.
What are your thoughts on it, lads? I'll start with you, Finn, because it's one of those where we need a bit of balance. Because, Jord, I agree, but you boys may feel a bit different.
No, I don't fully believe this, but to play the other side, I think
devil's advocate, Finn, coming in.
Yeah, to be fair, I do slightly lean towards it. I thought, especially the Spurs game, he did not have a clue where to. But like Neto sacrificed himself in that game, didn't he, to mark Perisic?
Yeah,
and Adama's been told to come on because when you said about the unsavoury stuff, there was the one where Jimenez won the flick on and he didn't run on.
He didn't gamble.
But he's 30 yards away because I don't think he knew what he's right. Play right wing back. Right. Okay. I follow Sessegnon. I follow and like he was just doing that. And then when he got the chance to dribble, it was decent. It he did. It just wasn't. It's not where you get the best out of Adama. I mean, at right wing back, maybe that Cardiff game once upon a time, he's had a good game there. So to put him there, I wasn't quite sure. Maybe like the Newcastle game, if you can put him at right wing for a sub. I thought in the Fulham game, he never got a chance. So in the 2 performances we're criticising, didn't really get a chance to stretch his legs in the Fulham game, albeit he didn't really actively look for a chance either. He did look like he didn't want to be there. So you have got a point. But I thought the Fulham one, I felt sorry for him like I did with Neto as well, because Neto by 60 minutes had been following Perisic everywhere and he couldn't then, if he had the chance to run forward to take someone, he was knackered. So I felt sorry for everyone that had to play that man mark job. I understand why Bruno did it because it's a really dangerous position, but I wasn't putting too much blame on Adama or Neto for that.
Yeah, just for those who aren't sure about that, out of possession on Saturday, Wolves went into a back 5. Johnny had come across as an auxiliary centre half, and Neto was filling in at wing back. Dave, what were your thoughts on? A Chiquinho job, as it's now known. Dave, what are your thoughts in the interest of balance?
The situation is weird because as a footballer, I would happily keep Adama at the club this season just as an option to come off the bench. But it's difficult because do you bring him on when you're winning? So there's not much risk in bringing him on. But then it's difficult. And then when you're chasing a game, sometimes it takes him a little while to get into the game. I think for argument's sake against Fulham, last week, what I would have done is just put him on the last man, because that would have forced Fulham back anyway. And they'd probably the same against Spurs. When he's playing on the right and playing arguably, deep like you guys are on about as well, he's just ineffective. There's no effect there whatsoever. He might get you at the pitch 10, 20 yards, but we need to start seeing him when just before he left, when he played Southampton and when we played Brentford, he came off the bench both times and played on the last man, scored the goal against Southampton, scored a goal against Brentford, and unfortunately it was disallowed. So we need to find out. We need to get the best out of him somehow. I think he's a good option to have in the squad. But on Sunday, I would have put him on through the middle, and either asked Raul to play out wide right, which obviously isn't a comfortable position for him, or asked the central midfielders to do a little bit more. Say, Donk, you're the man to pin on Sessegnon, and then we'll have Adama as a free role, almost doing whatever he wants to do. But we've had him for 4 or 5 years. You can't ask him to do something straightforward because it's never gonna work. You can't ask him to do a job because he won't do it. Full stop.
Yeah, I think when he's got time to think about it, he falls to pieces. It was difficult for him now because, like I said, they were doubling up on him, and Sessegnon was dropping a little bit deeper off the other man because that's the space he wants to run into. He wants to get to the byline, but
I want it to work though. I want it to work. I think he's a good.
I agree.
You all know when Adama Traore is on the pitch, you see some of the most exciting football you will see at Molineux all season because he just gets everyone off their seat. But I just want it to click just a few more times for him whilst he's still at the club. And if he does well and signs a new contract, then great. But if not, But we just need, if he's staying here for the year, you want some sort of effort from him.
Yeah, I agree, mate. Before we move on to the Preston game, let's just touch on the bet, mate, and we will just touch on it because it was a bit of a stinker for most of the Talking Wolves team. Dave managed to finish the highest out of us. He took home £2.60. Now, what I will say is, Dave, just be careful because I've seen this kind of money change people's lives and not for the good. So
it's enough for Finn to put an accumulator on, mate, or free in Finn's case.
Just be careful what you're doing, okay? Like, we all love you and we don't want to see you go down a dark path. So just make sure you invest that £2.60. We had a stinker. Finn finished above me. I was third, and Jord in his first Betmate game had a bit of a humbling. So. What can you say?
What though? The Betmate guys before we started, and people that watched the preview would have heard it as well. They said, right, we are Tottenham TV, but they are very good at the game. I was like, yeah, whatever. So I looked at their teams and I thought, yeah, they're all right. They're all right. Mate, they finished first. So one guy won 250 quid, and the other guy finished like third. So both of them just smashed it out of the park. So. But they captained Perisic and stuff like that. So we've got the clean sheet, got the assist.
Well, yeah, I thought I'd done all right. I had Perisic, Kane. So coming out of the ground, I was, I might have won something on Betmate. Nothing. But you have to get it bang on.
What a trophy that is for Tottenham Hotspur. Moving on to Wolves. That's probably the only one they're going to get this season. Moving on, chaps. Carabao Cup. Well, it'll be tonight when you're listening to this. Wolves versus Preston. We've seen with the under-23s on Monday night the lineup, which looks like quite a strong lineup for under 23. So, Jord, it looks like tonight is going to be a strong team. And I think we need it. I think Bruno will look at it and say, pick as strong a team as possible, get a win under our belts. It doesn't matter who it is. Preston the goal shy. So, what do you think?
Yeah, it's exactly what I think anyway. There's only 2 rounds of the Carabao Cup before the World Cup as well, for people that don't know. So, playing tonight, and then the next round's like the week before. People go off for the World Cup as well. So literally, we're not going to get any fixture congestion or anything like that. Play your strongest team and get through it. Get your name in the hat. I think, look, it's a real winnable competition. And I think there's a lot of teams in and around sort of similar size and stature to Wolves who would feel the same. I think as long as you avoid Man City, because their second team will beat most first teams, you're quite comfortable playing any of these teams, second teams, and trying to take it on. And the way that the Champions League and Europa League is very condensed well before the World Cup. Like they will be playing weakened sides. So yeah, look, get your name in the hat, get a win tomorrow. I'm just, us in the Carabao Cup never usually goes very well. And the fact that Preston have played 5 games this season, scored 1, none in 5 games, it makes you feel like we're going to get a 0-0 and get to penalties, I think.
We'll probably go out on penalties as well. We know we're not very good.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, I can't remember when was the last time we won a penalty shootout? Quite a while ago.
We have won one in the last few years. Beat Reading in the Carabao Cup a few years ago.
Yeah.
Remember we lost to Warsaw? We beat Warsaw, didn't we? That was on pens.
Yeah, Aaron McCary saved one, didn't he?
Bloody hell.
Legend.
Spurs
last year.
Yeah, Spurs. Leicester. It was Leicester as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's. Do you remember that Fulham one as well in the snow? That's one I always think of with penalty.
Lee Evans, mate. Absolute disaster class by Lee Evans, man. Remember it? What's he doing with his life? Lee Evans?
I think it's
still on the road as a comedian or what?
I think, or Ipswich or something like that. Oh, Ipswich actually.
It might be Ipswich.
Ipswich, yeah.
Yeah, he's at Ipswich. He's 28 now. I thought he'd be about 33. He's still only 28. Back at the Molineux, who says no?
Lee Evans.
Yeah. Dave, what sort of team would you be putting out tomorrow? We know we just said about the under-23s, but from back to front, what's your team, Hitman?
Well, mate, I'd rather not. It's actually the 21s now, Matt. You've got to get your facts right now.
Is it the 21s?
23s to 21s, yeah, this year.
Oh,
there you go.
That's another one. We normally get criticised for not covering the under-21s, the women's football, the under-17s, the under-15s, the under-12s. So,
Monday morning, I put a team out, rotated team out. I've put, suggestions because I just didn't know how we, and I suppose we know now we've seen the 21s team. But I think Sarkic will start in goal. I think we'll see Semedo at right back. Now Mosquera's in the 21s. I think it will be Bolly and Totti. But it wouldn't surprise me to see Kilman still play, I think. But I'll say Bolly and Totti. Left back, Bueno.
Yeah, he's not in the squad, is he?
He's not in the squad, is he? Kundal, Neves, then Donker or Moutinho. And then I don't know if Adama will start or not. Possibly Adama, Jimenez, and Guedes.
No Huang.
Huang, yeah. But I think people are saying they should play Nunez as well, try and get the, some, suppose, we've got another 5 days till the next league game. So, lots of, my issue is that, what these championship ballers are like. One late tackle, mate. You don't want to risk it, do you? £50 million signing, bush.
Out for the season.
Yeah, ACL.
Jeff would still try and flog him.
Yeah.
Finn, what's your lineup? Hit me with it.
Pretty similar to that, yeah. There's no way to sort of go 4-2-3-1. Is there really? I don't know.
Unless you go Nunez and Neves, and then
and then you could go Guedes behind Raul, and then Huang on the left, or Huang. I don't know. So you could vary it like that. That's the only real change I'd make. I would be excited to see Bueno. I agree with that one. Can't really think of much else, but yeah, I saw Preston's results. They don't score, but they don't seem to concede either. So I'd like to get as many attackers on the pitch because I saw someone tweet it out and it looked like binary their scores when it was like 0-0, 1-0.
One goal in the first 5 games, isn't it, or something like that?
Yeah, so it's 0-0 and then penalties, isn't it, basically? But no, yeah, I'd just like to see some goals. So chuck them all on.
Might as well. Like I said, I think Bruno will be looking at it. Look, we've not had a win yet. It might only be Preston, but even if it's a win against Preston, it might do wonders for the confidence. Jord, there's still about, from the last time I checked, about 7,000 tickets left for the game. I know it's a Tuesday night, but the ticket prices were, in my opinion, and I know everyone's circumstances are different, fairly reasonable. Are you surprised not to see it sell out?
I'm not surprised by it because I think, we've had some over the years, been to the ground when it's been half empty on these Carabao Cup games. I remember playing Morecambe and all the Crawley and all this crap, and you usually get about 7,000-8,000. I think if you get over 20,000 for a Carabao Cup game against a non-Premier League side, I don't think it's a bad attendance, to be honest with you. I think £12 really reasonable. I think it's just gone up to £15 now, isn't it, for general sale?
Yeah.
The discount's gone. And I think after tonight's lineup of the under-23s and there being people being very active on social media, seeing how actually might be a strong team, you might get some people paying on the door still. And I reckon we'll still see over 25,000 there tomorrow. Yeah. For me, that's a solid turnout for a Carabao Cup game.
Yeah, I agree. You chaps in agreement with that? I think it's one of those. It's if you can pay on the door when leading up the day, you'll be like, if you're going to game tonight, people who are in. They'll probably go. So I think you're right. Maybe over 25,000. I think it's commendable for a Carabao Cup tie, especially against Preston. No disrespect to Preston.
Yeah, it'll get over 25k. I think easily. So yeah,
16.
Yeah. No, there'll be loads of people buy on the day, like you said, and tonight as well. So yeah, I think you'll be a decent attendance. Hopefully,
and you're switching to the North Bank, aren't you? You're joining my side of the ground.
Yeah, no. For cup games, I always like to try different stands and stuff like that. Apart from the Steve Ball, so North Bank's normally my go-to. I used to sit there a few years ago. I used to enjoy it there. So yeah, trying out.
Jord, where are you South Bank, Jord?
I'm sitting South Bank tomorrow. Yeah, usually Steve Ball. But
you sit Steve Ball.
Yeah, so South Bank tomorrow. So one of my mates sorted it out, and he was like, I think we're in like S3, right in the thick of it. So we're going to stink a piss and beer.
You got the Madry there, though, George.
Then you're going to go in the ground.
Yeah, literally, yeah. So, yeah. To be honest with you, my days in the South Bank are gone, to be honest with you. But I'm making a fleeting visit back there for tomorrow anyway.
I've never had a season ticket in the South Bank. As everyone else, I've always been either the Billy Quiet or the North Bank.
I have.
Have you?
I've been everywhere, but I think bar Steve. I've had Billy Wright, North Bank, South Bank.
Oh, we've covered it between us, and I've been Steve Bull and then North Bank.
Any Graham Hughes ultras in here? No.
No one's.
I don't really like sitting on the side of the pitch. I prefer behind the goal. I don't know what it is. I know you don't get as good as a view, but
especially not Wolves as well, because we never scored North Bank end like first half.
We never score.
Yeah.
No, I've never had a season ticket in the South Bank. I don't know. I don't know if I could do it. Quite like the North Bank. It's quite cushy. Plus, I get to leave on 85, so you can't do that in the South Bank. I mean, if it goes to penalty, it goes straight to penalties tomorrow, doesn't it? If it's a draw, so could be one of those where I listen to Dazale as a penalty's given on the way home. Next Sunday, lads, the Geordies come to town. Wolves versus Newcastle. After watching Newcastle perform against Man City on last Sunday, they look really good. But Dave, it's one of those fixtures at the start of the season that you earmark as a win. But is this a must-win now for Wolves?
We've got to get something out of it, definitely. I think on paper, I think we've had discussions about it before. Newcastle have got this money, and they've strengthened in a couple of areas, but probably not as much as people were expecting them to. But since Eddie Howe's gone in, and since this takeover has happened, there's just been, they've just been so good. There's been so much positivity at St James's Park, and again, I watched them against Manchester City over the weekend, and they took the game to City. They were really, really good. So it's going to be a tough game. Last season, we beat them at Molineux. I think that was the last game before the takeover. But we really struggled. We had no Neves, didn't we, at St James's Park? So we really struggled against them in that game. But I think, we could go toe-to-toe with them. It's going to be a really intriguing game. And hopefully, against Preston, get a win, get our confidence up. And I think there's definitely, it's not, it's definitely a winnable game, I think. It's going to be tough, but it's a winnable game.
Yeah, I agree. Jord, from the Spurs game, I thought Aït-Nouri was a little bit better, but I know you think he's had a poor start to the season. But I thought Johnny was poor. With Semedo being fit, would you make changes in those fullback areas?
Yeah, I think Semedo is our best fullback. So naturally, you've got to come back in, especially if he's fit as well. See how he gets through tomorrow night against Preston. I think he offers us a lot more going forward. He's obviously quicker than a Johnny and Aït-Nouri as well. But I think it's just toss up then between the two of them, because I think Aït-Nouri was superb in pre-season. I think Johnny's been one of our most consistent players when he's not had the ACL injuries. But I was a bit alarmed against Fulham because I think he's probably one-on-one, probably our best defender. Like, in terms of what I've seen previously, I've never known him ever get skinned, and I thought that Cabano gave him a bit of a roasting. And then
just dangling a leg out.
Yeah. He was like a bit lethargic with it. And I thought, granted he's not getting as much cover in a 4 as he is in a 5, but I thought he got found out a little bit. And then, Perisic and, he had Son to contend with, and Ben Davies was playing like a overlapping fullback at times as well. He looked like a fish out of water for me. I think he could do with possibly a break out of the team, or even just seeing what he'd like over at left back. And play a wing back sort of role like he's accustomed to. But yeah, like for me, the fullbacks have been the two disappointments in the 3 games. There's been a lot of positives, but that'd be the one alarm bell for me, is that they haven't shown what they're capable of. And that could be to a few things, but yeah, I think Semedo's got to come back in if he's fit.
Yeah, especially the pre-season that Aït-Nouri had, we were all gassing up, saying, this boy's going to be a special player. So, it's almost like the commentator's curse, isn't it? But George, for you, is it a must-win?
100%, yeah. We've got to win tomorrow. Oh, sorry, we've got to win tomorrow. And talk about Newcastle now, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously tomorrow, 100%, we've got to win. Newcastle, is it a must-win? It's a lot, would love to win. I think that they're a really good team, though, and it really annoys me because I've been one of these people that just think Eddie Howe's the biggest fraud in English football, but you can't really begrudge what he's done with that team, and it's really starting to piss me off now because it's like results. I watched them yesterday go toe-to-toe with Man City, and they didn't fluke that point. They first half they were well deserved the lead, and they well deserved to be 3-1 up as well. So yeah, we do need to win a game, but I don't think it's make or break on Sunday.
I'm glad you're back with us, mate. What's your thoughts on the Mark Kennedy to Wolves rumours?
Little brain fart.
Will you boo Henry Kamara when he comes back to Wolves? Bless you, mate. It's a Monday. We've all had a long day. Happens to the best of us. Finn, I'm going to ask you the same question, mate. Not about Mark Kennedy. Is it a must-win for Wolves on Newcastle in the Premier League on Sunday at 2:00?
I'm going to say it's a must not lose, but also a must score, so we don't go insane. I'd like score, draw minimum, and 0-0. And I think people will start to worry about the finishing again. So score, draw, or a win, and I'm happy. But no, yeah, we've been unfortunate. Like we've played Fulham off the back of a draw against Liverpool, Newcastle off the back of a draw against Man City. So teams full of confidence, albeit Spurs were rubbish against Chelsea. But yeah, they're going to be flying out as St. Maximin looks superb from what I saw as well. So could be a tricky one, but just some goals, please, and don't lose. It's not too much to ask.
I'm going to jinx it now, but every time St. Maximin plays against us, he doesn't really do much. So you know what's going to happen now. Dave, well done. Does that midfield of Newcastle's worry you with the dynamism they've got? I know we've signed Nunes, which helps, but like Joe Linton and Guimaraes, Joe Linton's revitalised his career. Does it worry you? That's their biggest threat, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, through the middle, But I think if we go 4-3-3 again, 3 in the midfield, we should have enough to sort of nullify that. I think. Yeah, Joe Linton, it's unbelievable how he sort of reignited his career from some 40 million striker that couldn't hit a barn door to now a really decent sort of advanced midfielder. But yeah, that's where their quality is. But we can hurt them defensively. I don't mean they're still a little bit shaky, I think. But it's going to be a close game, going to be a tricky game, but it's going to be interesting.
It is. Dave, the $1 million question: will Wolves have a striker in by next Sunday?
By Sunday. No, but it'll be close, I reckon. No, but it'll be close.
It's not the answer we want, mate. That was my final question on that. What do you reckon, boys? Striker in by Sunday? Finn?
I'm going to go with...
No, listen. Okay, what we'll do... So this time last week when we did the podcast, not just Jord, all of us wrote off the signing of Nunes. So if we all say no, as soon as we stop recording this podcast, the Sacha Baron Cohen or whatever his name is, the rumors for him will get confirmed.
Very nice.
There is no way Ronaldo joins Wolves.
It's Udar on Dingle's Eye where he's going to be calling him Sacha Baron Cohen, aren't they? We'll come on to that though. But Jord, is there going to be a striker in by Sunday?
No, so I'm hoping this podcast finishes and we've signed Lurch from the Adams family.
Look at the size of that fucker. He's massive. Every time, I don't know if anyone's caught up with the transfer podcast that Dave and I do. Every week we discuss. We've got a section dedicated to strikers over 6'6". Yeah. So when the news broke today, like I was made up.
Someone commented on the YouTube video saying, "I bet Dave's got a semi. It's a tall striker." Like, oh, all right. Is that the bar we set?
Well, this is. I'm going on a slight tangent, but that's. We've been told, Bruno wants a big striker, but it genuinely looks like the profile that he wants. But I know we had Seferovic at Benfica, who was his man for that. But these are huge compared to him. Seferovic only about 6'2". So I've got my reservations about strikers that big, though. I don't know. I think they're too big.
Yeah, they usually got to turn
too big.
I agree. Can't they? That's the problem. Yeah. We'll see. Time will tell.
We'll see. Before we move on to talk about the news that's broke today around Pedro Neto. Of course, we're going to talk about Betmate. So this week's Betmate pot is the Sunday 2 p.m. kickoff, which consists of Wolves versus Newcastle and Aston Villa versus West Ham United. It's £3 in, and it's your chance to win a share of £600. I'm going to talk you through my team now. So after his heroics, the first 3 games of the season, I've gone Nick Pope in goal. I've vice-captain Kieran Trippier after his goal against City. Matty Cash, who's always a high scorer. Declan Rice and Nunch in the midfield. Dynamism. And up top, Jared Bowen and captain Raul Jimenez. So I'm hoping that they don't bring in a striker just because of that. It's not a very Wolves-heavy team, but I think when there's 4 teams to pick from, you need a mix of all 4. Dave, would you like to talk me through yours, sir?
Yeah,
And
so
give me a
I've
bit of
gone
rationale.
I think I'll probably change mine before, to be honest. But I've got with Emi Martinez in goal, Trips and Johnny at the back.
You know. It's
Where's
like when
Tark's up to
just
these
gonna
days.
say everyone calls Tarkovsky Tarks, like he's his best mate. Like he's
Trips and John, John Meister General, Matty Nunch and Mateus Nunes, Bruno Guimaraes, Ollie Watkins, and Alan St-Maximin. No West Ham players, interestingly.
Yeah, they've had a poor start to the season, so have the Villa, so probably won't going to be many goals in that one. Finn, talk me through your team. I see you've got Trips there at right back too.
It's basically yours, yeah. Pope, Trippier, Cash, Nunes. So we're exactly the same until I've gone Souček instead of Rice. This is subject to change, but I've got Bowen and then I've got Wilson, just because I keep backing Wolves and they keep letting me down. So I've got Nunes FC and that's about it, and then 3 Newcastle boys.
Can I ask why you picked Souček? Because he's absolutely pony these days. He's awful.
Nah. Well, I saw he get 6 points last week and Villa are shite. So header. I'm going to captain him. Fine, I'll captain him.
Fucking rhubarb, mate. He's so bad now. Like, he had that one season. He was unbelievable. I don't know what's happened. Jord, second week on the Betmate game. Are you hoping for a better return this week?
I am, yeah. I actually won some money on the Arsenal-Bournemouth game, though.
Did you? You kept that one very quiet. How much did you win?
£14 something.
No, bloody hell. I've had a couple of winners as well this season already. We're doing all right. I don't know why we give ourselves such a hard time.
Oh, no. So, yeah, after the shocker of midday, I went and vice-captained Odegaard and captain Saka on a... So that's where they got the points. But anyway, we're digressing here. So I think that where you've all just said you've got to pick all from 4 teams, I've just gone Cox out on 2. So I'm expecting a West Ham and a Wolves win. So I'm going for Fabianski in goal. That could change in case Areola. That's a bit of a fluid.
Areola want to roll with the geezer.
Yeah. Kufal, the Irish Maldini. I've got Nunch, captain.
Nice.
The mighty Joe Young, Joe Linton. And then I've got Guedes, vice captain, and then Mikel Antonio as the other
big
striker.
Dick Mick at the top.
But George, you just said you've gone balls deep on 2 teams, but then you've got...
Yeah, then I put Joe Linton, am I? Yeah. I really like that. Let's cut it out. I'm having a mess.
But you can only,
don't you? Yeah.
You can only pick 3 players from the same team in these games. So, George, did you not fancy having to go at pronouncing Geddish? You had to go with Nunch.
Nunch and Gedge.
Yeah, that'll do. That'll do me. Hoping for a better week for all of us. I know Dave took home, a massive £2.60 last week. But yeah, just to reiterate, Sunday 2 p.m. kickoff, £3 in, and a share of £600, and of course, be gamble aware. Right then, chaps. News broke today that we've all been fearing from the past couple of months. We've seen on Twitter that Arsenal fans are every 5 minutes asking Fabrizio any news on Neto to Arsenal, and the news was broken this morning by David Ornstein of the Athletic, who's pretty bang on with Arsenal news, that Pedro Neto is being touted to a move to Arsenal. Clubs haven't spoken, but Mendes is doing bits and apparently offering his services. Dave, when the news first broke, how did you feel?
I don't know. It's weird. I didn't actually feel that bothered, which sounds very strange. But I don't think it's going to happen. No. I think it's too late in the window. Wolves don't need to sell. We're not exactly desperate for the money. If this was 5 weeks ago and we hadn't signed the players, I think I've been like, well, let's get it over the line because it might help us sign some other players. But we've got a good team. We don't need to sell him. Arsenal haven't got the money to afford him, if I don't think anyway. So, yeah, I think we're in a good position. We're in a strong negotiating position. I know everyone's saying, oh, it's the Mendes carousel. He's helped us out with 2 or 3. I was like, yeah, it's the Mendes carousel, but at the same time, we're not going to get ripped off by George Mendes. If you think about sales, right, that this wars of sold players, have we ever... the only one that I know someone will mention is the Jota one, but at the time, we all thought it was a decent deal because Jota wasn't in the team.
Yeah.
Yeah,
great
exactly.
business.
Yeah. We've never been ripped off like in terms of sales out by George Mendes.
So. We have, but
who?
Fabio Silva.
No, sales
in terms
out,
of
players we've sold. Yeah. Players
Mm.
we've sold, we've never been ripped off, and we won't let it happen. Not for this anyway. So you got to be demanding 55, 60 million at least, and Arsenal will not pay that.
Yeah, I mean, Gibbs White's gone for probably around £35 million. I know he's English, but he only had 2 years left on his deal. Neto has just signed a new deal, got 5 years left on his deal, Jord. How much are you demanding for Neto this window?
Probably 50. I think 50 is a fair amount. I think it's a fair figure. If we can get more of Arsenal, great, but I don't, like you say, I don't see us getting north of 50. I don't think they can afford him either. Like, I think it's a bit of hot air, to be honest with you. But for me, Neto hasn't been the same player since he's come back from his injury. Obviously, it's quite a serious injury. It was like a knee dislocation, wasn't it? I think
a patella, fractured patella. I think.
Yeah, and it's like, and that's not me saying he's all of a sudden become a bad player. He's still a very good player, but I don't think he isn't yet the player he was before that injury. So I think that's a good deal as long as we've got someone coming back in through the door. And I think that with Gwedge, you got Podence, Traore, if you want to integrate him back in the squad, we have got cover there. And Neto is probably still the first pick if you're picking a Wolves team out there. But if we could bring someone in back through the door, I'm not averse to it at all, to be honest with you.
No. I understand what you're saying, that he doesn't look the same player he was before his injury, but I don't even think it's that. I just think he's been asked to play a different role. Under Nuno, we were sat back and he would, there'd be space for him to run into. Now he's almost playing on the edge of their 18, and people may think we're saying this now because there's a possibility that he leaves, and it's like being a jealous, bitter ex. But I don't think he quite fits what Bruno's trying to do yet, and that may change. But I'm not convinced of him on the right, in and around the area. I don't think he's cute enough. I think if he's got space to run into and put the afterburners on, he's perfect. But I'm just not convinced. I think £50 million or £50 to £60 million is a fair fee, Jord. I know Wolves fans are saying, well, they paid 70 odd million for Nicolas Pepe, but Pepe had an unbelievable season before he came to Arsenal.
There's a lot of anecdotes like that. People saying, look how much Lukaku went for this season. Yeah, but like for every Romelu Lukaku or for every Pepe, you've got like players of similar value that have absolutely smashed it up in leagues as well. So
yeah,
you'll always get flops like that. But I don't know what Finn thinks, but I think it's too late in the window for Wolves to even consider it.
Finn, do you think it'll happen?
No, I can't see it happening. The noises sound like they're sort of like, right, okay, we're prepared to sell him next summer. It's like, oh, this summer they weren't planning on selling him. And that might be a risk that if he does carry on in this same form where he doesn't look the same player, that we might have said, oh, why didn't we try and get, I know they aren't matching the 50, why didn't we try and get 45 or whatever for him this summer? So I'm not sure. I'd like to keep him. I think there's still that player in there, but I do agree that it was much more suited to a counter-attacking team, which also begs the question, why do Arsenal want him? If they've seen that, like how Arsenal are wanting to play, if he's then going to have to play in that same sort of way, obviously he'll get more chances, but it's not as if teams are going to be flying forward against Arsenal. So it might not make sense all round, but they've clearly identified him and only him to be like, he's our top target. But I was the same as Dave, like when the rumours were coming out, I know we were sending stuff to each other, like the sort of, like Neto to Arsenal for 28 million, and you're like, come on. It felt like the Doherty where it was like, 12 million to Tottenham. It's like, come off it.
They've looked at transfer market. They've looked at transfer market and looked. Because Robbie was putting it on AFTV, and I love the bloke to bits, but he was talking out his arse. Like, he was just talking nonsense about they'd get him for 25 million. It's just think about what you're saying, Robbie. Just think. You know what I think?
Like, if you needed a last-minute replacement, like Sarr has collapsed for Villa for 25 million, play Guedes on the left, and Sarr's more suited to the right than Neto. I mean, It does sound like a jealous ex, or maybe there's that girl anyway. But yeah, I'm not sure.
Didn't want to shag her anyway. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
No.
You know what I think it is, and I think there's obviously genuine interest in it, and he's a good player, so I see why. But he's not going to go to Arsenal this season. And I know they've got loads of games, but he's not going to be the first choice. I think Smith Rowe's better than him. I think Saka's better than him. I think Martinelli's better than him.
Yeah. He won't start. He won't be a certain starter.
And especially with a World Cup year. He may not even go to the World Cup, but he's going to have more chance of playing at Wolves. But I think because Arsenal can't afford him, and Pepe's going out on loan, but there's no obligation to buy, so we're only going to get a loan fee. I reckon they're using this as, right, we can't afford him at the minute. Let's try and settle him, bring the price down a little bit. He might kick up a fuss and say, I want the move. I can't see it happening. I can't see Pedro Neto
a January
doing
thing. If it's anything, it'll be in January. It won't be now. It won't be before the World Cup.
But even if it's January or next summer, I know he's going to have 4.5 years or 4 years left on his deal, which is less than he's got now. But if he has, if he scores a few goals and has a good season, his value's only going to rise. So I think it'd be daft to sell him now. If it was like another Gibbs White with 2 years left on his deal, absolutely get it done. But it seems daft to let him go. But Dave, if they do go, they have to get a replacement for him, don't they?
Yeah, for sure. And going back to what Mendes said, Wolves won't say yes to this deal unless we've got a winger lined up, or good George says, look, let's put this deal through to Arsenal and you can have this player. But not really been many that we've been linked with that would be. I think there's one in the questions later on that you might mention, but no one anywhere near the quality of Neto to come in. And I think that's why. I think the issue with this situation is that Arsenal fans are looking at the fact that we signed Guedes as well last week and thinking, they've already got their replacement in. So, which we all know we probably needed a forward like that anyway. So,
yeah, I think Guedes is a different type of player anyway. I think he's a bit better than Neto. And again, it's not being a bitter, jealous ex or anything like that. I just that's just what I see. But I'm saying this now. I'd love to keep hold of him because I think he's a really good player, and I think he's still got a lot to learn and a bit of a rough diamond. So hopefully we keep him. And if he does go, it needs to be for a good fee, George. And we need to get a replacement. I know we were linked with Rafa Silva before, weren't we? At Benfica, and that's gone really quiet. But it's Bruno doesn't exactly like wingers, does he? He likes his wide forwards to be almost inside forward. So maybe someone of that ilk if Neto was to go. But if his forwards aren't scoring, upgrade your forwards, eh? Playing devil's advocate a little bit there, but. Moving on to the questions, guys, because I'm conscious of the time. It's gone really quick. I'm enjoying this one. It's been a good pod. Thanks to all those who've sent in their questions on Twitter this week. First question is from Richard Fletcher. He's asked, are we all underrating Willy Bolly? Should we be resistant for letting him go? It was only a couple of years ago. He's one of the best centre-backs in the league. Dave, this week, Nottingham Forest have bid £1 million last week bid £1 million for Willy Bolly. He's only got a year left on his deal. I think he's 31, 32. What are your thoughts on that? And are we underrating him?
No, we're not underrating him. I don't think. It's a similar situation to we had the discussion about Andre Belotti a few weeks ago. We spoke about him, and we all appreciated that 2 or 3 years ago he was a good forward, but injuries have caught up with him. He's not had as much game time as you'd want. He's not the player that he was 3 years ago, and it's the exact same thing with Willy Bolly. We can all sit here now and say that Willy Bolly 3 or 4 years ago was guaranteed, 100% our best centre back at the club. A lot of top 6 sides, whatever, rated him as well. But he's had injuries. He had quite a major training injury. He's really struggled since he had long COVID. He's nowhere near the player that he was. He was training on his own for part of last season. So I would sell him. If you can, I don't think the club would renew his contract anyway. I think he will leave on a free regardless. But I think when Forest are desperate for a centre half and they've got money, you ain't going to accept 1 million for him. So if a bid came in sort of between 3.5, 5 million, I think you'd say yes right now. But yeah, good player, good squad player to have. But it was said in the press that if Wolves sell, they'd have to get a replacement in. And I don't think Wolves would, I don't think you'd find a player of similar caliber for that price.
Especially not for £1 million.
No, exactly. So yeah, he's a good player, but I don't think he's underrated by any means.
Yeah, that injury has done his time at Wolves, hasn't it? Jord, what are your thoughts? £1 million derisory offer or a fair amount?
No, I want a bit more. I think I want a bit more, but we've said it already. I think long COVID completely ruined him. Like I say, he was training on his own for large parts last season. I think we said last season, was it against Watford where he had a really good game, or he looked he looked backed and he slightly and then just looked way off it again. I think, look, like the way that Foden have been over the last few years is you've got to be ruthless, and it's a bit daunting, really, to think you could lose Sace, Cody, and Bolly in the same transfer window. He isn't what he was, and I think he's a million miles behind Kilman and Collins at this current time. But like that's not begrudging what a player he was for Wolves, like a really important player. And I think that in his peak and his prime, outside like someone like Jody and Lescott, he's probably in my top 3 Wolves defenders I've seen in prime. Probably getting the best 11 still at the moment, but you've got to be cruel to be kind sometimes. And I think that the era's sort of gone a little bit, and we're moving into Wolves 2.0 now. And yeah, if you get 5 million for him, 3 to 5 million, I think that's fine. I think for £1 million, you might as well leave him in the squad and then wave goodbye to him at the end of it, because don't touch the sides. There's £1 million these days in the Premier League. So.
No, what do you reckon, Finn? Is he underrated still? Or
I don't. It just makes sense. I think this one, especially because Forest play the 5 at the back as well. Because I agree, Bolly has been one of the best centre backs I've ever seen at Wolves, but they do say a 3 makes any centre back look better. And if Forest are playing that, it's a cheap deal for them, and a guy that is proven at this level, albeit in the last, as we say, since the injury. I don't think we're wrong. The level that we're rating him at, I wouldn't say we're underrating him. But I should say there were some great games in there, but some absolute shockers, or even in a 3. I remember like the scarring Burnley game, when it was like the 4-0 or whatever, he had a shock. There's a few around there. So I think it makes sense for everyone if he's going to go for free anyway. It makes sense for Forest, makes sense for us, makes sense for him to play football. Not that Ivory Coast aren't at the World Cup, are they? I don't think, or are they?
Definitely not the Euros.
We're going to get him regardless. No, not in the Euros, I heard, yeah. So it'd be a tricky one for him. But no, I think it goes with my blessing. And it's another one, it feels like another one this window where you go, legend, well, icon of the current era, but you've got to move on.
The Willy Bolly stand. Can't see it happening.
Get the statue sorted for hosting.
Yeah. You both mentioned
next to the Neil Warnock statue outside the
at the subway. you both mentioned there about one of the best centre halves you've seen in a Wolves shirt. I'm going to ask you now, before we go on to other people's questions, your top 3 Wolves centre halves in your lifetime. Dave.
Fucking hell. Georg Margarita. No.
Gabble Jeepes.
Yeah. Casper's Gorks. Bolly. Yeah, I'd go Bolly. Jody Craddock. Go on.
Unreal shout.
That was Matt clapping, by the way, for people listening. Nothing else.
that was Matt getting really excited over Craddock.
I don't know, because we had some crap players,
Yeah, I'm trying. Yeah, those eras.
Oh, do you say Cody or?
How can you not put Connor Cody in that best 3?
It might have to be Cody,
I think you do.
Yeah.
Jord, were you around when Dean Richards was playing for Wolves?
Yeah. So I was going to say mine's pretty. Yeah, mine would be on footballing ability would be in no particular order: Lescott, Richards, Bolly.
Unreal. I thought I was going to say, because I think Dean Richards finished at Wolves in 99. So I
like how George said footballing ability after I said
Because I think you got to I don't want to get any stick about the Cody stuff. Like,
what do you mean by that though, Jord? What do you mean by footballing ability?
By literal footballing ability, Connor Cody's not better than Lescott, Bolly, or Dean Richards. But
why? He's versatile. He can play just in front of the 4. He can play on right back.
Oh my God, here we go.
Yeah, I'm not any arguments. Like, he's gone. Everyone needs to forget about him. He's gone. Not forever.
Back though.
He ain't coming back. He ain't coming back. He's like, the kid with the Everton shirts now. He's back in skates.
Yeah, that was a bit mad.
Yeah, fair enough. Who's asked? Finn, what about you?
I wasn't born for Dean Richards, and Lescott must have been. Yeah, when was that? I don't really remember.
I was like,
I've seen
05
pictures.
until 05. Yeah, we were too young
Like
for
the
that.
proper, the dark gold kits. That's how I always picture Lescott in. So that's not my era. I'd probably go. I'd put Cody in there. I think I'm going off leadership ability. But no, I'd go Cody, Bolly. I think I'd go Craddock because it's like Bath, Berra, Johnson. You got nothing in there.
Why is there no honorary mention for Gary Breen?
Yeah.
Breen.
When I was mascot, Gary Breen.
Neil Collins, Stan.
Remember that goal he scored at Coventry at home, like 97th minute? Bash.
Fantastic artist as well, Craddock. He gets in there. Bonus points for that as well. Got one of his pieces downstairs.
Yeah, but
I bet you have.
oh fuck! If that's the case, then I'm putting Louise Cobbold as best centre half at Wolves. Then.
Ben Mortimer up top.
And Lobos Wolves in the middle. What a signing.
Edmund Robinson on the left.
On God's sake.
Oh, dearie me. Various people have asked about Sasha Kaladzic. Yes or no? Are you happy? Is it going to happen? Dave, is it going to happen? And would you be happy with it?
I don't know if it'll happen, but yes, I'm taking it all day.
Jord?
I know nothing about him. Not going to pretend to. But if he's any better than my offer, then yeah. If he's the same as my offer, then I wouldn't literally turn the plane round and say even bother coming.
Yeah, I mean the last 6'7" Austrian striker we signed, flatter to deceive. Finn, are you excited about? This one? The promise of having the potential of having Kaladzic up top, 6'7", 6'8", 200 meters as 2 meter Peter.
Hang on.
200 meters.
Look at the size of that fucker. But honestly, the last 5 minutes he's fallen apart, don't they? It's absolutely fallen apart.
All I know about him is I had him on Football Manager for a bit, obviously, but
the
real world isn't like that because headers are ridiculous on Football Manager. So I know he's not going to be that good. I did see him linked with, I think Bayern Munich were looking at him for a Lewandowski replacement, and I just remember seeing a lot about Stuttgart saying that he basically saved them when they were looking at relegation. He came back in after a lot of injuries last season, which is one of the other downfalls as well. He has had a lot of injuries. But we are brittle as lanky folk, so I don't blame him. So I think he's worth the risk. Really good goal scoring record in a struggling team. And very, very big, like Kilman and Collins. I've picked up very, very tall. So
yeah, how big are you, Finn?
6'6", so he's got.
And how tall are you?
He's probably got more than an inch on me.
That's going to be mad because if we sign him and he has a picture of Finn, I reckon he'd actually make Finn look small.
No, it'd be about the same height. Finn gets bigger by every time I see him.
Do you know? I think
what?
Sasha has got more of a neck, hasn't he? He's got like a smaller. He's got a massive neck. So
yeah, my Alpha had a massive neck though, but he never used it.
This guy's heading ability is good, man.
Yeah, I've seen some of his goals today. I'm sure if the rumours do come a bit more frequent, it looks like it's going to happen. Dave and I'll look at him in a bit more detail on a transfer podcast if we do on the tail end of this week. So, Dave, a question for you. Someone's asked about David Osorio.
Who? David
Osorio. Yeah,
David from Love Island.
Osorio. Yeah. What's happening with Dario Osorio?
You know what? I use TweetDeck for like Twitter, and I had a tab Dario Osorio, Wolverhampton, up for ages, and there's been nothing about him for about a month and a half. So it's all gone quiet over there. Yeah, I don't know what's going
on. Hamoudi has asked, what formation do y'all prefer? 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3? Jord?
4-3-3. I think with the current crop of players we've got, but I would like to see a 4-2-3-1 moving forward. But we just need to get some in, don't we, before we can start playing that sort of system, I think, properly.
Okay. Finn? 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1?
At the moment, probably leaning towards the 4-3-3 just because that midfield it's perfect. Looks really, really good. But when you had Gibbs White and I think I just have that natural instinct. You want to get more attackers on the pitch, but it did look good with that flat three. So probably leaning towards that. But I would like to see maybe a Guedes in the 10, and then you could have maybe a Neto. Like there's a lot of possibilities. You still got Hwang as well, so it does unlock a lot more with the 4-2-3-1. But at the moment, seeing that one performance with the 4-3-3 looked really good.
Dave,
I've enjoyed it, but I'd like to see us go back to a 5-2-1-2.
Yeah, I completely agree. Go
Pro Club special. 4-3-3 for sure. And yeah, pretty much what these boys said. We've got players 4-3-3. Maybe the games there we think we can be a bit more offensive 4-2-3-1 as well. But yeah, I'm enjoying watching us actually try and get men forward. I know we haven't scored many goals yet, but yeah, it's a lot more attractive. Let's say
4-3-3 for me. I just think it gives us a lot more balance, especially that midfield through. I think if you've got Moutinho, Neves, and Nunez, you've got to try and get all of them in there somewhere. Such a good caliber of player. So, and the final question is from friend of the pod, Ad Sidway. He's asked, "Will there be a deadline day stream next week?" I'm happy to announce we will be having a deadline day stream. He's asked if there's going to be any surprises. There may be a couple of special guests here and there. I'm working on trying to get a couple signed up in the background, so they may go to the wire. We may need to put a deadline extension through the fax machine, but we're trying to pull a few favours to get a few people on. So yes, there will be a deadline day stream, and that's all we've got time for this week, lads. Just over an hour there. We've chewed the fat. I've really enjoyed that. Thanks for your time again, Dave. Where can people find you? Should they wish?
Yeah, it's Dave Azapardi on Twitter. DAVEAZZOPARDI.
Jord.
Jord Russ 7 on Twitter.
Fin.
Finners FINERRZ, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Haven't done a Spurs one actually, but I'll be back for Newcastle. Hopefully we can win a game soon. So yeah.
You're not doing a Preston vlog?
No. I like the cup games. You can just sort of relax. I mean, we never score anyway, but it's like, yeah, just feet back and watch the 0-0 unfold. So
did Dave and I do Spurs with you the last cup game? Or was it
my
brother?
brother?
My brother.
No, it was your brother. Yeah, it was your brother.
Yeah,
and then we did Europa, didn't we? The four of us.
That's like South Bank.
Yeah, that was fun. That was fun. I'm M Cooper Wrights on Twitter, Matt Cooper Bites on YouTube, and don't forget the Betmate pot for this weekend is a Sunday 2 p.m. kickoff. Wolves, Newcastle, Villa, West Ham. £3 in for your chance to win a share of £600. Click the link in the description below. And of course, if you do sign up and you're a new customer using that link, you'll get a £5 in free bets. We're talking Wolves across all social media platforms. And if you've enjoyed the video, let us know down below. Like, subscribe if you're new. And until next time, take care and enjoy yourselves.